You have been in a room where everything went wrong. Maybe it was a car accident. Maybe someone collapsed at dinner. Maybe your boss snapped in a meeting and started screaming at the entire team. You remember the moment clearly, not because of what happened, but because of what you did. Nothing. Your hands did not shake. Your voice did not crack. While everyone around you was panicking, crying, freezing, you just stood there, calm, present, doing what needed to be done. And afterwards, someone looked at you and said the thing you have heard your entire life. How are you so calm? I could never do that. And you smiled. Because what else do you say? You do not know why you are like this. You did not choose it. You did not train for it. Your body simply does not react the way other bodies do. People call it bravery. They call it strength. But deep down, you have always sensed that it is something else. You just never had the word for it. Today, we are going to find that word. To understand why your body does not panic when everyone else's does, we first need to understand something most people never consider. Not all calm is built the same, and the origin of yours changes everything about what it actually means. Psychology separates this into two very different groups with two very different stories. Group 1, the wide window processors. Psychiatrist Daniel Siegel at UCLA introduced a concept called the window of tolerance. Think of it as a band in the middle of your nervous system. Above that band is the panic zone, where your heart races and your thoughts scatter into 1,000 directions. Below it is the shutdown zone, where you go numb and your body powers down. Between those two extremes is the window itself, the zone where you can feel the stress, feel the fear, feel the pressure, but still think clearly and still stay present in your own body. Most people have a narrow window. When crisis hits, they get pushed above the line immediately. They are not weak. Their window is just the default size, but yours is unusually wide. You can sit inside an earthquake of emotions around you and still feel the ground beneath your own feet. You absorb the chaos. You process it, but your system does not tip over. You feel the fear. You just do not drown in it. From the outside, this looks like bravery. From the inside, it just feels like you. But here is where it becomes important to pay attention. A wide window is not always something you were born with. For many people, it was not developed over time. It was forced open. And there is a very big difference between a window that grew and a window that was stretched by something it had no choice but to survive. Which brings us to group 2, the forced survivors. Let me tell you about someone. Let us call him Daniel. He is 32, works in finance, well-liked, dependable. The person his friends call when something goes wrong. The one his family leans on during every crisis. He has never broken down in public. Not once. Not at funerals. Not during layoffs. Not when his parents divorced. Everyone around him has always assumed he is just built differently. But Daniel does not feel built differently. He feels empty differently. When he was 9, his father's temper turned the house into a minefield. Not every day, but often enough that the unpredictability became the only constant. And the safest thing Daniel could do was disappear. Stay quiet. Stay still. Do not cry. Do not flinch. Do not let anyone see that you are afraid. Stephen Porges, a neuroscientist at the University of Illinois, identified a third stress response in 1994 that most people still do not know about. Everyone knows fight or flight. Your body detects danger and either confronts it or runs from it. But Porges found a third mode. He called it the dorsal vagal shutdown. When the brain calculates that the threat is too large to fight and too inescapable to run from, it does something unexpected. It powers down. Heart rate drops. Muscles go limp. Emotions flatline. The body goes completely still. Not because it is calm, because it is playing dead. And from the outside, playing dead looks exactly like composure. Daniel did not learn bravery at 9 years old. He learned survival, and that survival program did not disappear when he grew up. 20 years later, it is still running in the background. He stands in the middle of an office emergency, completely calm, and everyone says, "I wish I could be like you." What they do not see is that his calm is not coming from strength. It is coming from a place where his nervous system decided, a very long time ago, that feeling fear was simply not allowed. I do not want to sugarcoat this. Sometimes calm really is genuine regulation. Sometimes it is earned through years of therapy, self-awareness, and intentional growth. But sometimes, and this is what most people never consider, the calm is a door that was locked in childhood and never reopened. Only the person living inside it really knows the difference. Now that we understand where the calm comes from, let us look at what it actually does to the people who carry it. Because living behind this kind of composure creates a very specific set of experiences, and most of the people who live with them have stopped recognizing them as unusual. The first is the delayed emotional crash. You handle the crisis perfectly. You make the decisions. You hold other people together. Everyone thanks you. Everyone says how amazing you were. And then, hours later, sometimes 2 full days later, it hits you, not gradually, all at once. A wave of exhaustion so heavy you cannot get off the couch. A sadness that comes from nowhere. Tears that finally arrive, long after everyone else has already moved on. You were not calm during the crisis. You were on delay. Your nervous system held the emotions in a queue and dumped the entire backlog onto you when it finally felt safe enough to let go. Daniel described it once as feeling the earthquake 3 days after the building already stopped shaking. His family saw him sitting on his kitchen floor at midnight and thought something new had happened. Nothing new had happened. His body was just finally allowing him to feel. That delayed crash leads directly into the second experience, because while you are being so composed, something else is happening around you. People are watching, and they are drawing conclusions. They begin to build an identity for you that you never asked for. You become the rock, the one who does not need comfort, does not need reassurance, does not need someone to check in. Not because they are cruel, but because your calm is so convincing that they genuinely believe you are fine. You become the emotional shelter for everyone, the person friends call at 2 a.m., the one your siblings turn to when the family is in crisis. Daniel once told me that he cannot remember the last time someone asked him how he was doing without it being a formality, and the tragedy is this. No one thinks to ask whether the shelter itself needs a foundation, because shelters are not supposed to need anything, they are just supposed to stand there and hold. But when you have been holding for everyone else for that long, something starts to happen inside you that you do not notice at first. Someone asks you, "How do you feel about what just happened?" And you genuinely do not know. You reach inside yourself to look for the emotion, and there is just nothing there. Like reaching into a drawer, you are sure you put something in, and finding it empty. Psychologists call this alexithymia, a reduced ability to identify and describe your own emotional states. It does not mean you are emotionless. It means the connection between what your body feels and what your mind can access has been partially blocked. You can describe what happened factually. You can explain what other people were feeling with perfect accuracy. But when someone turns the lens on you and says, "Yes, but what do you feel?" there is a pause. And in that pause, there is something that looks like calm. But it is not calm. It is distance. That distance creates something even harder to sit with, a strange guilt. People who stay calm in crisis often feel guilty about it afterwards, not because they did something wrong, but because they watched other people cry, scream, and fall apart, and they could not match it. They stood dry-eyed at a funeral. They held it together during news that should have broken them, and later, in private, a quiet voice asks, "What is wrong with me? Am I cold? Am I broken?" The guilt does not come from the crisis. It comes from the gap between what you showed and what you felt you were supposed to show. Your system simply processes on a different timeline, but the world reads your composure as indifference, and slowly you start to believe them. And for some people, that guilt and emptiness push them somewhere unexpected. They start to crave chaos, not because they enjoy destruction, but because crisis gives their nervous system something to do. It gives the calm a purpose. When the world is stable and peaceful, their mind feels restless, empty, almost bored. They do not know how to exist inside peace because they have spent their entire life being useful during war, and so they unconsciously seek the storm because the storm is the only place where their kind of calm has ever felt like it mattered. The delayed crash, the shelter that never gets asked how it is doing, the empty drawer, the guilt, the craving for the next storm. Which one of these describes your life the most? Leave a comment and share it with me, because I know the exhaustion behind that calm face you show the world. Now, if you see yourself in any of this, I want to be honest about something. The path forward is not to break the calm. The calm kept you alive. It got you through situations that would have shattered most people. And I am not here to tell you it is a superpower either, because that framing is just as reductive as the one that called it a flaw. What I will say is this: the goal is not to panic more. The goal is to make sure your calm is a choice you are making, not a door that was locked before you were old enough to hold the key. Start here. After the next crisis passes, find 10 quiet minutes alone and ask yourself one question. What am I feeling right now? Not what happened, not what other people felt. What is actually there? If emotions come, even small ones, even delayed ones, let them arrive. You do not have to do anything with them, just let them exist. For many of you, this will be the first time in years that you gave your own feelings permission to show up without needing to manage someone else's feelings first. And there is one more thing I want to leave you with. The next time someone calls you the strong one, the rock, the unshakable one, try saying this: I appreciate that, but I also need to be asked how I am doing sometimes. It will feel strange. It might feel like weakness. It is not. It is the beginning of teaching the people in your life that the shelter is also a person. You have spent your whole life being the calm in everyone else's storm. You have held steady when the ground shook. You have been the voice that said, "It is going to be okay," while silently wondering if anyone was ever going to say those words back to you. Your calm is not a flaw. It is not coldness. The problem was never the calm itself. The problem is that the world saw your composure and decided you did not need the same care you have been giving everyone else your entire life. And maybe it is time to finally unlock that door, not to let the panic in, but to let yourself out. You do need that care, and you always did. If this video touched something inside you, hit like and send it to the person who is always the calm one in your life. They need to see this more than anyone. If you want to understand why some people end up in the strong one role their entire life, that is what the next video is about. Click it now while this still resonates. Thank you for staying until this very moment. See you again.